At Rubberband, we empower each other through positivity, kindness, and practical advice. Join a community of thousands of peers who understand the unique challenges you face. Rubberband. Company agnostic, low ego, high empathy, always supportive. And we are live. Welcome, listeners, to today's episode of the Rubberband podcast, where I am joined by Will Russell from Outhire for another episode of the Talent Tech series. Now, before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I live and work on, the Wadawurrung and Dja Dja Wurrung people. I recognise their continuing connection to the land and waterways. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and I would like to extend this to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome, Will. How you doing?
Hey, Eden. Doing great, thanks, Eden.
Yeah, it's good. You're coping with this heat. It's been a rather hot week in Melbourne.
It hasn't been too hot in San Francisco. Been very, very cold and windy, so I've avoided that.
I didn't even realise you were there.
Yeah.
Are you permanently based in San Fran?
Not permanently, but just here for a few meetings, and then going to be back in Australia, and then maybe back a bit later in the year to San Francisco again.
Oh, how's that? What time is it over there? I haven't got you up at 5 a.m. or anything, have I?
No, it's 8:10, so it's not too bad.
Oh, not too bad. Okay, great. Well, I'm really excited to talk to you about Outhire. Listeners, I have to say I've seen it. I've played around with it. We're staying online after this podcast recording because I want to play with it a little bit more. So Will's given me some more of his time. But, you know, today's really all about getting to know you, getting to know the Outhire product, how it all came about, and just hearing the journey and how it can make our lives easier as talent practitioners. I always love starting, though, Will, finding out where you're from, Where did you grow up? Tell me about young Will.
Yeah, so I'm from Adelaide, which is not where most tech startups are built, but there are quite a few that are starting there. Basically started off from a very young age building software. My first job was actually working for my dad at his hosting business, and so that was a good introduction to customer service with lots of angry customers, but it was really good. And then just been building software, and ever since, all through high school and then all through university as well. So
you're one of them.
Yeah,
like
big,
you're one
big
of them. Yeah, give me the complete opposite of me, because I'm Mr. Technophobe, although I'm getting a lot better. These days. But, you know, when you say you were working for your dad's business, like, so you were on the phone, and this, I'm assuming, was pre-cloud. Like, when you say hosting, was this like old school?
Yeah, this is old school web hosting. We ended up building. My dad built this company up from nothing, and then ended up selling it to a ASX listed company. But when I was just leaving high school, so I was with him for most of the journey, helping build out the site, and also dealing with customers. And it was good fun, good early introduction.
Oh, wonderful! And then, you know, we're going to get into. You know, this is a talent tech episode, and you're focused on the HR and talent industry now. But talk me through your career up until that point. Tell me about your journey.
Yeah, so after university, or during university, I was sort of working on a lot of my own sort of little projects on the side, lots of little side businesses. Not any that ended up eventuating to anything too big. But then I ended up getting a job working with my now current co-founder, Matt, building out mobile apps and web applications. We worked together for about 4 years in that business, sort of building out mobile apps for different customers, one of them being Sign, which eventually was acquired by Honeywell. And then also building out Australia's first digital driver's license just before COVID. So we built South Australia's digital driver's license before New South Wales or Queensland or any of these other people had even started. Ended up scaling that out to 1 million monthly active users. And also during the COVID outbreak, we did the check-in piece as well. So yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so it's been a bit of an interesting journey.
Yeah, right. And at some point, right, like you're like amazing technologists, right? And where did HR and talent come into the scope?
Yeah.
And how? Because like, you're talking about the check-in apps, you're talking about, digital licensing. This is general population technology. At some point you've gone, I see an opportunity within recruitment, HR, talent.
Yeah.
How did that all happen?
Yeah. So when Sign, which was the company that we worked with, got acquired by Honeywell, we ended up both going back to work there after the acquisition. And one of the things we had to do there was basically scale the engineering team in Adelaide from 10 to 80 engineers very, very quickly. So as part of that, we tried all sorts of different things. Going into niche communities on Slack and Discord to try and get candidates to apply. Events, all sort of myriad of different ways to sort of attract and not spend too much on external recruitment. And one of the things that we learnt during that was that a lot of this talent is locked in these really niche communities, and we sort of had a bit of a way to scale that, which was automating discovery of those niche communities. And so that's where Outhire started, was doing that that AI automation of finding the communities, and then also customizing content to go into them to get people to apply for jobs.
Right. And so was that challenge about because you were trying to build those engineering teams and people weren't applying for roles? Is that what the opportunity was, that we're really operating in this space where we're expecting talent to come to us rather than reaching out to them?
Exactly. So yeah, scaling that attraction function, especially in harder markets where there's not that much developer talent, especially in Adelaide. I mean, there's lots of good developers in Adelaide, but getting people to move away from their existing job to come and work for you is obviously a really hard challenge. So that was something that we had to deal with.
Excellent. And this is where so the idea came about. When did you launch Outhire, and what was your original go-to-market plan and strategy, and where were you really focusing the efforts in the early days?
Yeah, so we launched in 2023, the beginning of 2023, but we'd been working on the product since sort of October 2022. And our original sort of strategy was approaching startups that were struggling to attract tech talent, engineering talent, people that are locked in these sort of niche communities on Slack and Discord. So, the good product, for example, for product managers and all these other little niche boards. So we were originally targeting startups to do that piece. And then since then, it's sort of evolved into employer branding, because that was where we saw the next obvious sort of step in terms of where AI could help, was automating that collection of testimonials from employees, and obviously TikTok and all these other things being that perfect channel to distribute video. That would be the future of where a lot of this high volume recruitment is. So that's where we sort of moved to after that.
Excellent. Tell me about your observations of, you were hiring managers originally and you were seeing the struggles of building those teams. Then you've come and embedded yourself in the talent industry. Are there any surprises? Like, is it as you expected?
Well, it's quite funny. I knew that it was difficult to attract people to and that the job was hard, but I didn't realize how hard it was actually. So I came in with some misconceptions about what the actual job entails, and how difficult it actually is to convince somebody to come over to work for your organization, especially when you're a small startup. So yes, I had that sort of misconception going in.
Yeah. Well, when you're looking at the way we are now, you've learned the industry and you've learned the way most talent and recruitment professionals operate. I have this thing that I do quite regularly. In fact, I tend to do it on a weekly basis, where I look at what I'm doing in terms of talent attraction and recruitment, and I run a very quick stop, start, continue exercise to try and, move myself forward, because if I stay flat, nothing's going to change. And I think one of the pitfalls when it comes to the recruitment industry is we've always done things a certain way for decades, right? And it's hard to drive that change. What would you advise, people like myself when it comes to a stop, start, continue, just based on the observations that you have seen from networking and meeting with us?
Join Dr. Bill Howitt in his new podcast dedicated to empowering employers with the knowledge and tools to protect and promote mental health in the workplace. The Exploring Workplace Mental Health show considers issues relating to capacity building. Tune in as Dr. Bill delves into the why, what, and how of fostering a mentally healthy work environment. Each episode provides employers and decision makers with actionable insights and strategies to create a supportive culture that empowers employees. Subscribe to the podcast now to access the latest episodes.
Yeah, so do you mean from adapting to technology changes and things like that?
I think so, yeah. And I also think just around process, because I talk to a lot of people and they have a lot of trouble getting the buy-in where they want to look at doing things a little bit differently, and it can feel like a huge leap from where they are. So, how do we bridge that gap to catch up with the evolution of technology and also the evolution of talent, and how to tap into talent?
Yeah, I think the key there is to realize that this stuff is going to change regardless of what we or anyone else does. Like the change is inevitable, especially with what's happening in AI and recruitment. And anybody that isn't adapting or looking at where the future is going to be with these technologies, I think is going to really struggle in the coming years. So I think it's a matter of making sure that you're ahead of the curve by looking at these tools and looking at what's actually at the cutting edge of these different AI models and different ways of working.
So what is being ahead of the curve? Like, if you were to give that advice to someone like myself in terms of where I need to be right now in 2025 and how I get myself ready for 2026, because it's moving that quickly, right?
It's moving so quickly that I don't think anybody can really keep up with it. Like, especially being here in San Francisco, like I'm staying at a founder's house with about 20 other people. They're all working on similar AI technologies in all different domains, from people building automated music generation, like. There's all sorts of people that are working crazy stuff here, and you just can't keep up with it. So I think the only way that you can have any sort of chance is by playing with the latest generative models. So things like DeepSeek, things like OpenAI's latest GPT 4.5, and also experimenting with agentic workflow, which is something that I think is going to be pretty much all of the work. So you as a person have an army of these agents going out and doing all these little parts of your job for you. I don't think it'll necessarily replace people, but it'll basically enable them to be 10x more efficient, and that's the power of these things.
Yeah, and I think that this is the thing. Like, when I go back to stop, start, continue, there are things that I do that I know a machine can do and do better than me, right? But there are things that I can do in terms of my human skills that a machine's never going to have human skills, exactly. Right? So what are some of those activities that a recruiter does that would fall into that stop category?
I think the activities around sourcing, a lot of the sourcing activities can be automated. And also done in somewhat a better way than most human sources, or at least augmented. I think that process can be augmented a lot. So like going out and doing research on, say, one candidate to personalize messaging to them versus doing that research across 100 candidates at once. That's something that a human recruiter can't do, but they can do that. They can do that today. They can with these technologies. You can go out, research 100 candidates, go to their LinkedIn page, go to their GitHub, all these different sources, public data as well, and then use that to create sort of a analysis, and then use that analysis to write really personalized outbound to that candidate. That's one example of, and also the analyzing whether they're a good fit for the role as well. I think that's an example of something that can be definitely wiped out by, or at least augmented by AI. That's one thing. And then also, I think parts of the screening process, just because there's so much AI generated resumes at the moment, like it's actually trivial for somebody in a technical role to run a script which is going to apply to 1,000 jobs at once, and that's putting this horrible workload on all the talent, all the talent function that exists.
Yeah.
And I think that analysis piece and the screening piece is where a lot of that will end up going to AI as well.
Do you know, I've got this theory around these AI generated CVs, and people are going to hate me for my theory, but I'm kind of all for it. I'm all for that talent because they're embracing the future and they're embracing the current, right? Like, but these are the sort of people that we actually need to hire, that are tapping into these there goes my voice, but these technologies to use to their advantage. And so those are the sort of people I would think I would want that mindset coming into my organization, that are already embracing it, versus the ones that are writing a CV from scratch and spending 2.5 hours, right? Like I see a lot of content, particularly on LinkedIn, with recruiters being really anti-AI generated CVs, but I don't know. I'm kind of like, well, they're doing what we should be doing, really, at the end of the day. Like, what's your thought on that?
I think what the inevitability of it is that the resume step is going to become somewhat redundant. I mean, you're going to have an AI talking to an AI, right? So I'm going to have some mechanism of my AI telling you what my skills are, what my experience is, and then your AI, which has the information about the role and what persona you're looking for, and then that matching piece occurring, and that'll be the future. And there won't necessarily be a resume being that glue between those two pieces. I don't know what that necessarily that new thing will be, whether or not it's just this manual process for a while of influx, but I think something will replace that for the candidate experience.
Yeah, and see, I've just gone live with a new platform in terms of application software, and I'm in this new platform, and I'm spending a lot less time looking at a CV. In fact, I probably don't even necessarily need to, unless I know I'm generally interested in going deeper and deeper into their experience, because it's importing their LinkedIn profile for me anyway. And I tend to look at LinkedIn as more of a source of truth than a written CV. And again, we're talking about, AI generated CVs that, they haven't actually written themselves anyway.
Exactly.
Which again, I don't have a problem with. But then, you've got the opportunity in a lot of these platforms that, I've got a field where people can tell me their superpower, or they can embed their favorite song from Spotify, or, and so like, I know that there's a real person behind that application, and I can connect with them on a personal level by just looking at their profile, right? And, I saw someone applied overnight that their favorite song was Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And, I was like, well, cool. I love that song as well, right? I'm a Cyndi Lauper fan. So yeah, let's have a look at the experience, right? But it's giving that human personalization that AI can't do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is definitely one of those places where the candidate can basically shine, is they actually do answer those questions. I think where you've got, I was at a recent talk by somebody who works at in the developer team at Ashby, and she was mentioning specifically about application questions and these screening questions, and that when they actually can see it in their data when there's 2,000 people apply with all the exact same ChatGPT generated answers to those screening questions, that they instantly just reject all of those candidates, and that they actually really do look at those. And I think that's one thing that candidates might get dissuaded by, because they're applying to so many jobs. But a lot of these companies, they really do want you to answer those questions thoughtfully and look at them. And I think that's where job seekers can sort of stand out, is with those things.
Yeah, and I've been having this conversation quite a lot lately around, whether it's elevator pitch or whether it's cover letter or whatever it might be, to share your connection with that organisation and what that organisation does. And that's where that hyper-personalisation comes in, because, you've got storytelling, you've got connection to purpose and values that, just adds so much more. It makes your application so much richer, because you're hearing someone's journey that, AI can't do. So, I think that this is the time for us to kind of tap into those human skills and get creative around our recruitment processes. And the technology is fabulous to do that. I'm on this learning journey, and I'm, trying to really revolutionize the way because I'm on my own, the way I go about attracting, assessing, screening, and at the end of the day, hiring people for November. And it's incredible the amount of creativity that's coming out of me being able to tackle that. And it's actually really enriching. It's elevating my, my happiness, because I'm, tapping into the human side and removing a lot of that, I suppose, historic burden of traditional recruitment processes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm excited about this era. I think, this is probably the biggest change we've ever seen. And I'm really keen to, get an understanding. Now we've kind of talked about the opportunity that AI brings. Where does Outhire play in this space? If I'm a talent, a talent acquisition professional, leader, what have you, recruiter, or if I'm a candidate, if I'm the talent that's getting targeted from Outhire, talk me through how it works.
Yeah, so from the recruitment side, what we essentially offer today is an assistant which can work alongside the recruitment professional to basically help them with tasks like sourcing, tasks like automated screening, things that they do that are repetitive. Those really sort of easily repetitive tasks that we can take away from them and save them time and let them get back to what they what they want to be doing, which is talking to candidates in person and actually nurturing them. So we do that, and we also have the capability to help with the attraction piece through our system as well. So that includes things like doing the personalised outreach to candidates. So from the candidate's perspective, especially with really high-level engineering talent, they may receive, recruiting messages all the time that they just instantly, they're instantly just discarding. So it's how can you stand out in front of those people and actually give them the information they need about your company, which may be an amazing company to work for, but you're just not selling it properly. How can you give them the information quickly in a way that they can come to a decision and be sold on that role, and also sold on your company and its values. So that's where we sort of fit is that attraction piece, and also the automating those sort of those easily automatable tasks that AI can do.
So I'll break it down into, and I've seen a demo, so really, really impressed with it. So I just want to congratulate you and Matt as well. But just for the audience, I can jump on and it really feels like a chat GPT where I can pop in fields and it will search from various sources. Because I think this is the big opportunity for us, right? I think a lot of talent professionals are tired of waiting for applications and tired of the LinkedIn platform that's becoming harder and harder to use as the years go on. Yes. So tell me, how does that work? I'm looking for a certain person with certain skills, certain attributes. What do I do when I log into Outhire?
Yeah. So as opposed to most traditional interfaces, as you said, you're instantly presented with a ChatGPT style interface where you can basically ask natural human language questions like, I need to find a software developer for my insert role here in this location. We already have all the information about your jobs already in the system, so we can use the skills that you've already defined or requirements and also things about the company as well. So things like your company values to basically go and source candidates that meet those attributes. Then from actually that initial sourcing piece, we go out and we do research on GitHub automatically. We'll go and do web searches. We'll go and do all different things to basically enrich that candidate profile, and then give you the analysis on the left-hand side where you can basically come to a conclusion on which candidates you think would be the best to reach out to. From that point, we have the ability to do automated outreach to those candidates as well. So instead of manually going and emailing each one of those candidates, we'll use their profile, their enriched profile, to personalize the outbound to them. That outbound can also include like custom landing pages as well that we also generate through the platform. So just making a really personalized and engaging experience for the candidate, and that's where we sort of see the power of Outhire.
And what does the outreach look like? Because there are a lot of, there's a lot of content out there where people are saying this is how you do your LinkedIn outreach. This is how you send this is how you target someone via wherever it is, right? Whether it's via Slack or a community or whatever. If I'm to look at myself and the Movember tone, it's pretty bold. We work with balls, don't work with dicks, right? Like we're pretty out there. So how does it feel like Movember, and what does it look like from an end user perspective if I'm the talent that's sitting there and getting tapped by Eden from Movember via Outhire?
Yeah, so at the beginning it'll be quite unrefined, and it'll be based purely on the job description, what we know about Movember, and the information about the candidate. We may go and get additional information from their GitHub if they're an engineer, and then use a point from one of their repositories, like, I saw that you were doing this particular project on X, and that looks really cool. But over time, as you refine that messaging, we save all of those existing messages that you've refined, and then use that to change the tone of the future outbound that gets sent. So it's over time it becomes more aligned with your messaging that you would normally do, and at some point it'll become almost indistinguishable from your tone.
Wow. Amazing. And then this is just so cool, Will. It's so cool. And then what happens? Like we've done the outreach. They say, "Yep, keen to chat to you, Eden." What happens from there?
Yeah. So from that point, you can take over that relationship, which is probably what you should be doing, and then that'll go into basically feed into your existing ATS if you already have one, or an existing CRM. If you want to do phone screening, we do have the ability to automate parts of that screening process as well with AI. So you can talk to an AI voice-based interviewer who will ask you questions about the role, not necessarily like a full technical screen, but enough to sort of get an idea about the candidate, and also answer any questions that the candidate has as well. So they can say things like, what's the working hours like, what's the benefits like, and then the voice AI interviewer can actually sell them the role as well. So it's giving you the ability to giving the candidate the ability to talk to someone before they've been knocked out of by a resume or something else. They actually have the opportunity to sell themselves as well.
Does it feel like they're talking to AI? I think we all have that fear that it's going to, these kind of things are going to be like, press 1 for operator. Tell me about your experience. Like how does it tell me? Does it feel like they're talking to a human being?
Yeah, it does. I mean, the technology's progressed to a point where you can still tell that it's an automated system, and we're very upfront, like in the call, that it isn't automated, that they are talking to an AI. Like, we want them to know that. But a lot of candidates actually feel a lot more comfortable as well, because they're really stressed about having this interview. They don't. It's a way for them to actually talk about themselves, and they know that they're not getting any form of judgment. It's a machine that they're talking to, so they can freely talk. And the technology's progressed so much that these things can actually detect emotion in the voice recording as well, and sort of dynamically adjust to that emotion. So it's a pretty scary and interesting world that we're heading into.
I don't think it's scary because, like, if I look at my own scenario, right, I'm in a global role and I work global hours and I'm a standalone, and I'll have half a dozen roles on at a time. They could be based in London, they could be based in LA, they could be based in Melbourne, Dublin, you name it, right? So I've got a really limited window of when I can talk to people in different time zones, right? And they've got a limited window in terms of when they can talk to me. So at the moment, I'm doing Zoom calls using Meta AI because I want the human connection, but I'm challenging myself on that. Like it's taking away all the note taking, it's summarizing my interviews. That's great. I'm having great conversations, but for me, it's 6:30 a.m. or 7:30 p.m. for the UK. And if I do more than one a day, I'm getting up earlier and earlier. So, like, I see this as an opportunity where our roles and the talent that we look in, we can really shift to more of a global mindset because we don't have those limitations. And that's just one small example, right? How this can really change the way we assess and scope the kind of talent we bring into our business because we're not so limited geographically.
Yeah, I mean, the candidate can take this interview and talk to you at any time, and give the feedback and the information they need to make a judgment on whether or not they want to join your company. So it's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, and get it to do that while you're having a coffee with your CEO and being that seat at the table that we keep going on about, right? Like,
exactly.
that's where the opportunity is, and that's where the value we bring. Like, as long as we don't lose the human interaction, and that comes later, that comes at interview, but I do argue that that's going to look very differently very soon as well. But but we're seeing an increase in in-person interviews because we're wanting people to come and really immerse themselves into our environments and our cultures, and whether that is work from home, which is totally fine as well, but they're meeting the team on Zoom or whatever it might be, or physically going into an office. So we're seeing more emphasis on that human connection at that interview stage rather than the earlier stages. But who knows what we might be hologramming in soon. I don't know, mate. But Will, this has been really, really awesome. If you could just let the audience know how to reach out to you, how to get a demo of Outhire, please, audience, check it out. I have, and as I said, we're staying online because I'm definitely there. But yeah, let the audience know how they can reach out.
Yeah, so you can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. Just look for Will Russell Outhire, and I should be the first result. Or you can also just go to our website at outhire.ai, and the book a demo meeting goes straight to my calendar. So you can have a meeting directly with me.
Excellent. And audience, just a reminder, Rubberband doesn't receive commissions nor payments from any tech providers, service providers, or human beings whatsoever, or machines for that matter. So there is no conflict of interest with any of the information we share here. Consider this a personal recommendation that I think is really cool that you should check out. Thank you very much, Will. It was so awesome to catch up with you today.
Likewise. Thanks, Eden.
I look forward to continue chatting.
Next time. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.